For many fans, the story of the ThunderCats ended the same way every time. Lion-O raises the Sword of Omens, the signal shines across the sky, and the heroes of Third Earth charge into battle. By the end of the episode, the villains retreat, good triumphs, and the ThunderCats live to fight another day. But the truth is, that wasn't the real ending of the ThunderCats story. Because years after the original 80s cartoon ended, the creators revealed something most fans never saw: a darker future. A future where the ThunderCats were older, the world was dying, and their greatest enemy had already won once. A story where Lion-O wasn't the fearless young hero anymore. He was an aging king, slowly dying. And the only way to save his people was to make a deal with the one enemy he had fought his entire life, Mumm-Ra. This is the dark ending of ThunderCats they never showed you. Years after the original battles for Third Earth ended, the world had changed. The ThunderCats had grown older. The kingdom of New Thundera had finally been rebuilt. For a time, peace returned. But peace doesn't last forever in a world shaped by war, because the greatest enemy of the ThunderCats had never truly disappeared. Mumm-Ra, the ever-living, the ancient sorcerer who once ruled the planet through fear. For decades, Mumm-Ra had remained silent, watching, waiting, and planning. But the greatest tragedy of this future wasn't Mumm-Ra. It was Lion-O, because time had begun to take its toll. You see, Lion-O had spent years training within the mystical Book of Omens, a powerful artifact that allowed him to master the true power of the Sword of Omens. But the magic came with a terrible cost. The energy inside the book accelerated his aging. For every year that passed on Third Earth, Lion-O aged 5. The once young Lord of the ThunderCats was now an old man, his strength fading, his body failing. And deep down, Lion-O knew something terrifying. His time as king was almost over. One night, standing on the balcony of the royal palace, Lion-O looked out across New Thundera, the city he had fought so hard to build, the kingdom he had sworn to protect. But his hands trembled as he held the Sword of Omens. The power that once flowed through him was fading, and Lion-O made a decision. The next morning, he would step down as king. The ThunderCats would need a new leader, a younger warrior, someone who could defend their world after he was gone. But fate had other plans, because that same night, the sky above Third Earth turned black. Not from clouds, from warships. Massive vessels tearing through the atmosphere like falling stars. An alien armada had arrived, a ruthless empire known as the War Dogs, led by the brutal conqueror, Doberlord. Unlike the enemies the ThunderCats had faced before, the War Dogs had no interest in ruling Third Earth peacefully. To them, the planet was just another conquest. Its people were either slaves or casualties. Within hours of their arrival, entire villages were destroyed, cities burned. The ThunderCats' army was overwhelmed, and Lion-O realized something horrifying. His kingdom was losing the war. With his army shattered and his strength fading, Lion-O faced an impossible choice: honor or survival. Because there was only one being on Third Earth powerful enough to fight the War Dogs, one being who commanded magic older than the planet itself: Mumm-Ra. The enemy Lion-O had spent his entire life battling, the monster responsible for countless deaths. And yet, Lion-O had no other option. So for the first time in ThunderCats history, the king of the ThunderCats walked into the Black Pyramid, the fortress of Mumm-Ra, and there he made an offer no one ever thought possible: an alliance. Mumm-Ra accepted, not out of kindness, but out of amusement. The ever-living sorcerer had always enjoyed watching the ThunderCats struggle, and the idea of fighting alongside Lion-O entertained him. Soon, the strangest alliance in the history of Third Earth was formed. ThunderCats, mutants, and Mumm-Ra himself, all united against a common enemy: the War Dogs. The battle that followed was unlike anything the ThunderCats had faced before. The War Dogs possessed advanced weapons, armored soldiers, creatures bred for war, entire armies marching across the planet. But they had underestimated something: the stubborn courage of the ThunderCats and the terrifying power of Mumm-Ra unleashed. The final battle took place aboard the enemy flagship. Explosions shook the ship as ThunderCats and mutants fought side by side. Lion-O, weakened but determined, raised the Sword of Omens one final time and shouted the words that had echoed across Third Earth for years: "ThunderCats, ho!" The war ended with the fall of Doberlord. The alien armada retreated, and Third Earth was saved. But the victory came with one final revelation. Because after the battle ended, Mumm-Ra revealed something that changed everything. Lion-O's accelerated aging was never an accident. It was a curse cast by Mumm-Ra himself years earlier. A cruel spell designed to slowly destroy his greatest enemy. The ThunderCats stood in stunned silence, but then, unexpectedly, Mumm-Ra did something no one could explain. He handed Lion-O a small vial, the last remaining water from the Fountain of Youth, and when Lion-O drank it, the curse vanished. His strength returned, the aging stopped. The king of the ThunderCats stood tall once again, young, powerful, and ready to rule. And that is how the ThunderCats story was meant to end.